US Secretary of State Marco Rubio described Russia's losses as staggering, saying Moscow is now losing between 5,000 and 6,000 troops every week. He said the conflict has become one of the bloodiest wars in modern history, with an unusually high proportion of soldiers being killed rather than wounded. Well, those figures cannot be independently verified, and Russia rarely releases casualty data. They paint a picture of a war that continues to consume lives on an extraordinary scale. But behind every casualty is a family waiting for a phone call that never comes, children growing up without fathers, wives becoming widows, and parents burying their sons. On both sides of the front line, communities have been hollowed out by loss, while soldiers continue fighting across exhausted battlefields where drones, artillery and long-range missiles have transformed modern warfare into a relentless contest of endurance. Ukraine continues to strike deeper inside Russian territory, while Russia maintains pressure along the eastern front, ensuring that neither side can claim a decisive breakthrough. The enormous losses also raise difficult questions for the Kremlin. Russia has continued recruiting tens of thousands of new troops, relying on financial incentives, volunteers and military contracts to sustain its campaign. But as casualties mount, analysts say the economic burden and the social cost and the strain on military resources continue to grow. Even so, President Putin has shown little indication that he is prepared to abandon his military objectives, despite increasing diplomatic pressure from Washington and European capitals to find a negotiated settlement. For Ukraine, the war remains a fight for survival, independence and sovereignty. For Russia, it has become an increasingly costly campaign that continues to reshape its economy and society. And for millions of civilians caught between the two, the conflict remains a daily reality marked by air raid sirens, destroyed homes, separation from loved ones, and uncertainty about what tomorrow will be. Every week, the casualty numbers rise, reminding the world that while diplomatic discussions continue, the war is still extracting an extraordinary human price.
Rubio's remarks came as diplomatic contacts between the United States and Russia continued, including discussions with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. Despite those talks, there has been little indication that either side is ready to make the concessions needed to end the fighting. Washington argues that the scale of Russia's losses demonstrates the unsustainable nature of the war, while Moscow insists it will continue military operations until its objectives are achieved. Meanwhile, Ukraine continues expanding its long-range drone campaign, targeting military facilities, fuel depots, and strategic infrastructure deep inside Russian territory. Ukrainian officials argue these strikes are designed to weaken Russia's ability to sustain the war, while Russia has responded with continued missile and drone attacks across Ukraine. Civilians remain caught in the middle, with towns and cities on both sides living under the constant threat of attack. Military analysts increasingly describe the conflict as a war of endurance rather than maneuver. Both sides continue investing heavily in drones, electronic warfare, and long-range precision weapons, while casualty figures continue to climb. Although peace remains the stated goal of international diplomacy, the battlefield still suggests that neither Moscow nor Kyiv believes the conflict is close to ending.
Wars are often remembered by maps, military victories, and political speeches. But they are truly measured by the people who never come home. Every casualty represents a life cut short, a family changed, and another community left carrying the weight of grief. As Ukraine and Russia continue to trade blows across an exhausted battlefield, the human cost continues to climb at a pace that shocks even experienced military observers. Diplomatic meetings continue and leaders speak of peace. But on the front lines, another generation of young men is still being asked to fight and die. Until a political solution is found, the numbers will continue to grow, and behind every statistic is another empty chair at a dinner table, another family waiting for answers, and another reminder that there are no real winners in war. This is Breaking Silence. 3 stories, one defining question, different countries, different crises, but the same struggle beneath them all. The growing reach of power over people, whether it's civilians caught in war, governments testing the limits of free speech, or human rights under pressure around the world. The people paying the highest price are often those with the smallest voice. These are the stories that the powerful would rather keep in the shadows. Stay safe, stay compassionate, and until next time, keep watching, keep caring. And if you missed any part of today's show, be sure to go to our YouTube channel, Asia One News. I'm Craig Vermay, and you've been watching Breaking Silence.